Hola, todo bien, Secreto Noticias. Seguimos aquí en Lugano Plan B. Ya estamos ahora con Francis, CEO y fundador de Bull Bitcoin, de Beatles, y que recientemente, bueno, estamos hablando en español, entiende,
Está bien, está bien.
tienen planes de expansión en Latinoamérica y nos va a compartir un poco sobre ello. Hello, Francis. Thank you for being here.
Mucho gusto.
So, you was telling me about the recent expansion of Bull Bitcoin to Latin America. You are already in Argentina, in Mexico, is that so? And where else? And what are your future plans for expansion?
Actually, the first country that we ever expanded to was Costa Rica. And there's a very simple reason for that is because Bull Bitcoin was originally founded in Canada, but during the COVID lockdown, I moved to Costa Rica because I like the country. I think it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
And in Costa Rica, there was a circular Bitcoin economy called Bitcoin Jungle, similar to what Bitcoin Beach had done before in El Salvador, where a lot of merchants and Bitcoiners were paying each other with Bitcoin. But there was a problem, which was that there was no exchange to convert the Bitcoin to fiat. Okay, so that was quite a bit of a problem. And there was another problem in Costa Rica, that was that Costa Rica has a lot of expats that are coming from Canada, EU, USA mostly. They, come to live, or they come to work in Costa Rica, or they come on vacation in Costa Rica, and they are not connected to the local banking system. Okay, so it's really hard for foreigners to bring money to the country, and there's a lot of investors that want to invest in Costa Rica. So we saw an opportunity to launch a Bitcoin exchange in Costa Rica because there was none, right? And there was also Lightning was starting to become a big thing, and we were one of the world first Lightning Bitcoin exchanges. So Bull Bitcoin expanded in Costa Rica, and it was really nice, really successful. It was the first expansion of Bull Bitcoin. We were only Canada, and then we did Costa Rica, and it was a lot of work technologically, and we need, to create a whole team in Spanish, content in Spanish, and start to think in Spanish. And then we're like, okay, well, we did it in Costa Rica. Why not somewhere else?
It was successful, the expansion to Costa Rica.
It was very successful.
By these expats or for the local people as well?
Well, you know what's interesting? There's two different types, right? So the expats typically will sell Bitcoin, okay? So they will buy stuff with Bitcoin, whereas the locals, they're mostly buying Bitcoin, right?
Okay.
So ticos buy Bitcoin for savings, and expats, they spend their savings into the local economy. So we have both. We have both the ticos and the expats. The app is in Spanish, and also in English, and it's using colones, the local currency, which is really incredible because the colones is a very small currency, and this was the first real colones to Bitcoin pair that did not really exist before. We had to create the whole infrastructure for that.
And also I remember something about paying gas with Bitcoin. You were involved in that as well.
Exactly. There is a local payment network in Costa Rica called SynPay, similar in some type as Pix in Brazil. It's run by the central bank, but there is no way to convert directly from Bitcoin to SynPay. You have to go to your bank account first, and if you are a tourist, obviously you don't have a local bank account. So as a tourist, you cannot use the SynPay network, right? But what we did is we created this integration where you pay the app with Lightning. The app converts Lightning to colones and sends an instant payment to SynPay. So even if the merchant does not accept Bitcoin, they all accept SynPay. Everybody in Costa Rica uses SynPay. So I can pay anyone that accepts SynPay from a Lightning wallet, which opened up a lot of opportunities for either tourists, expats, or investors that previously only had two options, cash or credit card, right? Cash is great. I love cash. I think cash is a great payment method, but it's not exactly easy to pay with cash all the time. In Costa Rica, for example, sometimes the ATM has no cash, and sometimes you have to drive 1 hour to go to an ATM.
Okay.
And then you can withdraw $300, and it's the maximum, right? Wow. So what if I want to pay my mechanic $1,000 car repair as an expat? Credit card? Okay. I mean, not everybody accepts credit cards because it's very expensive and complicated. So that was a really unique user experience, Lightning to local payments, that was replicated all across the world based on how successful it was. There's many others. There's one in Kenya called Tando, and now in Brazil, people are doing that with Pix. So I'm very, very like proud and happy of this, like just idea that we had, like, let's connect Lightning to the instant fiat payments to get this beautiful user experience.
And do you have numbers of how widely adopted or how widely used is this Lightning payments in Costa Rica?
Yes, I do have. So the last numbers that I had were maybe a little bit outdated, but somewhere around 100,000 payments happening in the Lightning ecosystem in Costa Rica per year. It's really hard to know how many merchants are accepting Bitcoin because anybody can download the Bitcoin wallet and accept Bitcoin. We don't know necessarily
if it's a merchant or an individual. No,
I would say that our estimates put it about like 500 to 600 merchants that accept Bitcoin.
Knowingly or unknowingly?
Knowingly.
Okay.
Knowingly. Unknowingly, who knows? Like definitely a lot of people are using it. And yeah, in terms of the expansion, so okay, we do Costa Rica. It's really complex. It's really hard, but now we have some experience about how to expand to a new country because that was the first one. And it's scary because I've been in Canada only for 10 years. So this was the first time I go outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah, definitely.
And the next country was Mexico. Mexico, because Mexico, I had a lot of friends in Mexico and they're all telling me, okay, come to Mexico. Okay, we should do it in Mexico. Okay, fine.
Which is a completely different environment.
Absolutely.
Because in Costa Rica, there wasn't an exchange, but in Mexico, there are huge exchanges.
There are huge exchanges. So we had to differentiate ourselves, right, from what was available on the market. The biggest exchange in Mexico is obviously Bitso, right?
So,
and what we brought to the market was the same thing that made us successful in Canada. And it's two things. It's Bitcoin only. It's self-custody, right? So the exchange does not hold your Bitcoin ever. If you buy Bitcoin, it's sent right away. When you make a payment from Bitcoin, the fiat is sent right away. So it's almost like a swap model between Bitcoin and fiat. There's no custody. And that's something that a lot of Bitcoiners like because if they are recommending an exchange to a friend, they don't want their friend to leave the coins on the exchange. They want the full experience to self-custody. And because we don't even allow custody, the new Bitcoin users cannot make the mistake of leaving their coins on the exchange. Bitcoin only is also something that makes it very interesting because a lot of the time you will tell your friend, hey, go buy Bitcoin. And they go to on the exchange and they say, oh, there's Ripple, there's this, there's that. And they start to invest in shitcoins and they lose their money. So with Bitcoin, you cannot invest in shitcoins. So these are the two things. And of course, we bring all sorts of technologies. Bull Bitcoin is definitely not the biggest in Mexico, but it is the most technologically advanced exchange in the world. Therefore, also in Mexico, we offer technologies like Lightning, like liquid payments, like batch transaction.
And also Pay joins, isn't it?
Pay joins is in the wallet. So Bull Bitcoin also has a wallet. It's not yet in the exchange, but it's available in the wallet. So technological tools that are what like advanced users want, Bitcoin only and self-custody. So Mexico, the launch went great. Okay, so now we have two countries, okay? We have Costa Rica and Mexico. What's next? It just so happens that I also have a lot of friends in Argentina. Okay? And Argentina is a really interesting one because Argentina is probably one of the countries that needs Bitcoin the most, right? So Costa Rica has a certain problem that they're trying to solve, but Argentina, of course, probably Venezuela needs it more, but you know what I mean. But
it's a different monster.
It's a different beast. But Argentina is suffering from, of course, everybody knows it, massive inflation and currency controls, and rising cost of living. Argentina, unfortunately, also has a massive expat population. Argentinians are leaving Argentina,
yes,
because they cannot find the opportunities that they seek. So they go to other countries and send the money back. But when you send the money back to Argentina, like nobody wants pesos, they want dollars or Bitcoin, of course.
And they use a lot as well.
Crypto.
USDT.
Yeah, USDT is there's very little USDT in Costa Rica, but in Argentina it's massive, of course.
Huge.
It's huge. So same thing. We wanted to bring the Bitcoin only self-custody technology to Argentina, so we launched in Argentina. And then what I'm announcing as an exclusive news to you, I just met you, but you get the news since you are there. You took the opportunity. You got it. We're launching in Colombia. So we're launching in Colombia for many of the same reasons. I have friends. It's where I have friends and I have a specific, I don't want to dog say, but I have a very, very old, good friend in Bitcoin, who's telling me, hey man, like you got to come to Colombia. So Colombia is the next one. And at the same time, we also expanded in Europe. So it was actually Costa Rica first, Europe second, Mexico after that. And of course, Europe has Spain. Because now we are in multiple Spanish-speaking countries, Spain obviously is a massive country as well. We're getting a lot more involved in the community, but not the crypto community. We are Bitcoin maxis, right? So no ambiguity. We don't like shitcoins. We don't like ICOs or NFTs. We're not interested in that. We don't use stable coins. We really want to focus on Bitcoin. And then we want to bring this kind of like Bitcoin only self-custody ethos everywhere. So we were recently in Madrid at the Watch on Bitcoin. We actually were in the Barcelona conference in June, I think, of last year. It was a really cool cypherpunk conference in Barcelona.
Tell me more about the launch in Colombia. What are you bringing it to Colombia? I imagine the same,
Yes.
Bitcoin only, technology first, and all of that.
Yes.
But how are you inserting yourself or planning to insert yourself in the Colombian ecosystem?
Well, actually, we were at a Bitcoin conference in Medellin. So actually, we have a really interesting model where we are a very organic marketing company, right? So we have a program that's called The Mission. And if you are a Bitcoiner who believes in the mission, self-custody, Bitcoin only, you join like kind of like an inner circle of Bull Bitcoin contributors to create content or to do referrals or to organize local meetups and all that kind of stuff. So we really kind of sponsor or encourage like local communities because we're a self-funded company. We don't have venture capital investment, right? So, we're doing well, but we don't have, the budget of the big exchanges. Yeah. So we really rely on the community to spread the ideological mission of Bull Bitcoin. And the way that we acquire clients is interesting because we convince you of the ideology first, and then we are the natural commercial outlet for this. And when you expand it to a new country, really, there's two things you have to figure out, which is kind of like the secret sauce of working in an exchange, is the integration into the local fiat payment rails, right? So because if I launch in Colombia, I'm not going to ask Colombians to use international US dollar wire transfers. Everybody use in Colombia, I believe it's called PSC. It's the local banking system, and of course using Colombian pesos, and of course everybody uses Nequi. Nequi is like the local mobile app payment system. Okay. So we need to figure out ways to integrate that, and I'm not going to tell you how because that's the secret sauce. Okay, yeah. But basically, when we launch in Colombia, what it means is that a Colombian can buy Bitcoin using a Colombian bank account, using the local PSC payment system, using Nequi, and can also sell Bitcoin in Colombian pesos using Nequi or the PSC. In Argentina, it's using the local Argentinian bank. In Mexico, it's using the SPAY network. In Costa Rica, it's using the SINPE network. In Spain, it's using the SEPA network.
Isn't your plans to also integrate some kind of payment system as you integrate in Costa Rica in any other of these Latin American countries, like for paying with Lightning in regular businesses?
So Costa Rica is a special case because their national local payment system is actually real time, and it's actually really, really good. The only one that's close to it in terms of UX is Pix in Brazil. Something that we are considering, but also other challenges is there. So when people are watching this video, presumably we will just have launched in Colombia, and I think maybe in Colombia something like that would be Nequi, right? So payments with Nequi should be relatively instant. But and also in Mexico, like SPAY is instant, right? But people don't really use SPAY in Mexico to pay like a gas station, right? It's credit cards and cash. So I would say Nequi might be the closest thing to what we're doing. Yeah.
Okay. And what about the competition in Colombia? How do you see it? The other exchanges, I believe Binance is the biggest player there and the most adopted one.
Yeah.
Though this represents a challenge for the expansion of Bull Bitcoin, or do you perceive it as a different market or a different buyer persona?
I'll be perfectly honest. I never think about the competition.
Okay.
I don't do market research into what people are using. What I do is I am very confident that I have the best product, and that's all I care about, right? So I think like our strategy is just create the best product and let the product speak for itself. I'm not sure if there is something similar to Bull Bitcoin in Colombia. A lot of people they tell me everywhere like it seems like Bull Bitcoin is kind of unique. There are some in Europe, some in the US that are more close to kind of like what we are, like Bitcoin only. But the Bitcoin only ones in Europe, in US, for example, like Strike is a Bitcoin only exchange, and Swan is a Bitcoin only exchange, and River is a Bitcoin only exchange. Both of them are also custodial exchanges. So I think we're kind of unique. So what I'm presenting to the market is like, this is something different, I think. This is something that I think is special. And if you like it, then that makes me happy. And if you prefer to use, centralized shitcoin casinos, maybe this product is not for you. Bull Bitcoin is not a product that's for everyone. It requires you to take self-custody. It requires you to be focused on Bitcoin. If you want to use Ethereum, you cannot use Bull Bitcoin. So we purposefully have restricted our market to a smaller portion of the users, but that's an ideological decision that I made very, very long ago when I founded my exchange. I don't want to have everyone using Bull Bitcoin. I want to have the people who deserve it to use Bull Bitcoin.
And is it profitable to maintain a business that way and in an expanded country? Is it costly to maintain this ideology?
Okay. So Bull Bitcoin is a profitable company. Definitely not as profitable as shitcoin custodial casinos. I can guarantee you that. If I had, because the original exchange was founded, the service, the original service in 2013. If I had done a custodial shitcoin casino, I would be flying in here in a private jet. I have a pleb ticket. I would have ultra VIP ticket. You know what I mean? So we made the choice to not sell out, right? Because for me, being a custodial shitcoin casino, it would be selling my soul, right? It would be selling my principles. So, but Bull Bitcoin is profitable because we're so big in Canada and so big in Europe that we can afford to expand in these countries. Bull Bitcoin is not making a profit in Latin America at the moment. In Costa Rica, we're trying to keep the spreads as low as possible. And we're hiring teams and we're doing a lot of education.
So it's more about the mission.
It's more about the mission, and it's more about, I want people to use Bull Bitcoin as much as possible anywhere in the world. We put a lot of effort to do it. Canada is a small market, but it will be profitable, right? And the difference with Latin America, that's really hard, is that in America and in Canada, everyone knows Bull Bitcoin. Because they know me. We've been around for so long doing stuff in North America. In Europe, it's not as much as in Canada, but many people use or have heard about Bull Bitcoin. In Costa Rica, a lot more. But in the rest of Latin America, nobody knows who is Bull Bitcoin. You know what I mean? I don't know. When did you first hear about Bull Bitcoin?
A while ago, but I've been in the industry since 2015 already.
Right. Okay. But like the average person, they know, of course, Binance, Bitso, Ripio, like the local things. Like they haven't heard about Bull Bitcoin. Most people. So it's much more challenging because we need to make our brand known. We need to make our values known. And we need to collaborate and communicate with the local community. But like the way that I've like hired the team, it's like, in Argentina, I find people who are like me, and I say, hey, you're like me. You are in Argentina. We have the same values. Do you want to work for me?
And about that,
Yeah.
when you expand to another country,
Yeah.
you hire people local in the country.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right now you must be looking for employees in Colombia.
We have collaborators in Colombia, actually, not full-time employees yet, because we haven't launched as of the moment of this recording. But it will need to happen, of course. But as I said, we have a lot of friends there. In Argentina, we hired a guy, Micael Marjota. He is known for having written a very good book called El Gran Parecito. He is Bitcoin maxi, super cypherpunk. And when I first met him, I was like, man, we are, fully aligned, in Costa Rica. That it's exactly what happened. When I moved there, I'm like, okay, I need to find ticos, Costa Ricans. And I find the Bitcoin maxis, the cypherpunks, and I'm like, you join us, man. And then I hire the local guys, and then of course they become part of the family. So yeah, it's not, the exchange is not run out of like some, office somewhere. We have a local presence everywhere we go, and it's not our intention to dump money on marketing. No, we go like meetups, community events, local education, podcasts, education, I would say, is like one of the core things that we do. Like in Costa Rica, we do the Mi Primer Bitcoin. We are teachers, so we have physical classes, we have online classes. I think now we have done 5 graduations of groups that have completed the Bitcoin diploma. In Argentina, we are involved with, Michael's going to kill me, Michael's going to kill me, Escuelita Bitcoin, Escuela Bitcoin. In
Uruguay, no?
No, it's Escuela Bitcoin is in, sorry, Michael, I forgot the name of your town. But anyway, we are associated with like a physical Bitcoin education hub. In Bitcoin, in Costa Rica, we have a physical Bitcoin center, like physical, and people, they come in like every day, and like, hey, can you help me with my wallet? I need to blah blah blah. We provide like hardware wallets, books. We teach people how to mine Bitcoin. Not very profitable in Costa Rica because electricity is very expensive and it's hot. But we like build or encourage local education hubs. And because that's how I started in Bitcoin. I was running a physical education hub in Canada, like a physical center, and I was teaching people how to use wallets. And I'm a Bitcoin OG, so I don't care if this doesn't bring it. All of these are free, right? The Bitcoin Jungle Center is completely free. Like if you want to come in and like install a wallet and like learn how to do a backup, it's free. Like we're not gonna charge you, So all of that is kind of like some part of the open source nonprofit philosophy. And we are also very grateful. We did get a grant from OpenSats. Matt Udell was just talking about that, OpenSats. So we got a grant from OpenSats in order to hire people to give and pay for the physical office and that kind of stuff. So yeah, education is part of the core mission.
Last question. How do you perceive the future of Bitcoin adoption in Latin America in the next years?
I think it happens organically in Latin America because the problems of money and finance are more severe in Latin America than everything elsewhere. Therefore, I think the rate of adoption is definitely going to be faster than other places like Canada and Europe. For example, like if I go to a merchant in Costa Rica and I say, ¿aceptas? ¿Puedo pagar con Bitcoin? And they say no. And I say, ¿por qué no? No tengo la app. All right. Okay, te puedo ayudar. I take the phone and I'm like, okay, it's really easy, blah, blah, blah. I do the phone and they're like, oh, this is cool, and I pay. And then what really blows their mind is like, wait, I don't have to do registration. I don't have to get notarized paperwork. A lot of these guys, they don't even have an address, they don't even have an incorporated business. Imagine if they want to open a PayPal account.
Yeah, no.
Impossible, right? PayPal is going to be like,
who are you?
Who are you? Your documents are in Spanish. They're not notarized. Blah 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 blah. And so they get it right away, right? If I go to Canada and I say, hey, why don't you accept Bitcoin? They'll be like, well, it's a scam. Some stupid answer like that. Whereas like the Latin Americans, that they're like, I don't need to explain to them the problems of money and banking. They're kind of like, they already understand the problems of money and banking. So of course, you know, and I have met, you told me you were from Venezuela. I met a lot of people from Venezuela that left Venezuela, for example, a long time ago. I've met them in Canada, I've met them in Costa Rica, I've met them in Europe, and they all really get Bitcoin quite quickly. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you mean I can not only protect my assets from inflation, but I can also teleport my money from country A to country B. And, you know, if you're a Venezuelan migrant that is going through, you know, you're walking through Colombia, Panama, Darien Gap to go to, I don't know, somewhere else, like with the cash in your backpack, you're not gonna arrive with the cash. There's no way, right? You're gonna get robbed on the trail.
Yeah,
you know what
definitely.
I mean? So don't need to explain that to them at all. And I think that's quite refreshing and quite cool. So, you know, I'm actually really bullish on the countries that are doing the worst economically now are the countries who adopt Bitcoin the most.
Yeah.
Therefore, they're the countries that have a bigger advantage in the hyper-Bitcoinized future. So, you know, even though things are not looking well in Venezuela, I don't want to talk too much about Venezuela, but I have friends from Venezuela. I don't know, man. Like, you know, if a lot of Venezuelans have been orange pilled, they live across the world, you know, maybe one day the Venezuelans will come back with a big stash of Bitcoin, and who knows? I don't know what the future looks like. But I'm bullish on Bitcoin in Latin America, and I find it interesting and I find it refreshing, and that's why I'm involved in Latin America.
Thank you so much for your time, Francis.
My pleasure.